October is International Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We call it Pinktober. Now, the aim is to increase the early detection of breast cancer by encouraging women to get their breast screened. Some crazy figures here. So according to the World Health Organization, there were 2.3 million women diagnosed with 685,000 deaths from breast cancer as at the end of 2020. How are we doing with the aim of creating? And today, we are focusing on breast cancer with a special focus on breast care. And I'm going to be having a chat with junior resident in general surgery at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Joelle Emisa. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
What do you say about the current statistics as far as breast cancer in Ghana?
So in Ghana, breast cancer is still the leading cause of death in females. And as of July of 2021, statistics show that for every 100,000 women, 76 will get breast cancer.
Wow.
Yes. So it's still something we are trying to fight, but thanks to Pinktober and other awareness initiatives, at least we've been able to make noise about early detection. So I think we are doing a good job.
Doing a good job.
Yes,
what exactly are we doing that is helping to fight against breast cancer in Ghana?
Okay, so well, even though it's still a battle, we are helping to remove the stigmata. Thankfully, now we are detecting cases earlier, and since it's earlier, it's easier to do something about it, as opposed to even just a few years ago when, because of how people thought they'd be perceived, they'd keep it, and by the time they come, we cannot do anything about it. We cannot operate, so it's just unfortunately trying to help them through seeing if they can get comfortable, but unfortunately by the time they used to get to us, there'd be no treatment available. Yes.
So you work Korle Bu. I mean, how common is this? I mean, in a week, how many women are presenting? And then if you find out that it's maybe early stage breast cancer or late stage?
Okay, so we run clinics twice a week, and they are quite packed, I must say. We see about 100 to 120 patients during these clinics, and most of them are breast cancer patients.
Wow.
So the other thing is, a lot of them, again, thanks to all these initiatives, maybe they'd go to church and there's a screening program, so they come and they tell us, oh, I feel like there's a lump. I went, they said I should get it checked out. What is troubling is that, unfortunately, we are seeing people come in earlier. So worldwide, normally breast cancer is detected by the time people are 50 or 60. But in Ghana, we detect it a bit earlier, between 40 and 49, which in itself is a good thing, because at least we get to pick it up early. The troubling thing, though, is that we are seeing a bit more people in their early 30s coming with.
So the age is coming down?
It looks like it,
wow.
Yes.
What do you think is causing this?
We can't tell, but I personally suspect a change in diet. So one of the leading things that causes breast cancer is exposure to estrogen, something that has alcohol. So alcohol intake would predispose you. And then something like a high-fat diet, which the Western diet can be high in fat. So a high-fat diet would also predispose you to a higher risk of breast cancer. But that being said, it doesn't mean that all the people who always continually eat a high-fat diet are going to get breast cancer. Yes.
So alcohol, fat in the diet, and then estrogen, exposure to estrogen. Where are we finding estrogen?
So there are two things. Women already produce estrogen from their ovaries. So that in itself is a factor. Being female, having excess chromosomes would put you at a higher risk of having breast cancer. Then the other thing is, when after menopause, the ovaries stop producing estrogen, but then the fat in the body takes over. So if a woman is gaining weight, especially after menopause, then it's likely that she has more estrogen exposure. The other thing is hormone replacement therapy, which now we are shying away from. But in the 70s and 80s, they were trying to find a way to combat the symptoms of menopause, being the hot flashes, the feeling uncomfortable, yes. So since with menopause, your ovaries are not working as much, so there's a decline in estrogen. What was thought to be helpful was to give the estrogen as a treatment. But then again, by what I previously said, because now there's more estrogen in you, then it puts you at a higher risk of getting breast cancer. So that's how we get exposed to estrogen.
All right, but what will be the main cause of breast cancer?
So there's it's a multifactorial disease. So we have risk factors that we cannot modify, and then there are things that we can modify. The things that we can modify are what we were talking about, like the diet, the alcohol, exercising is another thing that we should be doing so that we maintain a healthy weight for whichever age range we are in. The things we cannot modify are age. So as you grow older, you're at a higher risk of getting cancer than, like I said, being female. Other things that we cannot modify are race. So black women are, although they have a lower risk of getting breast cancer compared to white women, what happens with black women is the type of cancer is more aggressive.
Okay.
So there's a higher mortality from having cancer and being black. Then the other thing is family. So any woman who has a first-degree relative, by first-degree relative I mean a mother, a sister, an aunt who has had breast cancer is more likely to have breast cancer as well. Yes. Other things are any woman who has previously had a breast cancer. Even though surgery may have been done or it could have been treated, unfortunately, having had breast cancer also makes you predisposed to having it again.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. So there's a strong genetic link there.
There's a strong genetic, yes, please.
Okay. You can't do anything about
You
that.
cannot.
So as much as possible, you want to try and deal with the ones you can do things about.
Yes.
Okay. So early testing and detection is critical.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Before we do a demonstration on exactly how to have the breast examined, I'm just wondering, somebody asked whether the kind of bra that a woman wears can actually predispose them to breast cancer.
So
is it true?
It's not true.
It's not true?
It's a myth. So what brought that about was people thinking that breast cancer could be as a result of lymph nodes being blocked. So that cannot happen though. So there was a bit of confusion. They thought that by blocking lymph nodes, then sweat wouldn't be able to escape. But the way by which lymph is drained and sweat escapes are two completely different pathways. So it's just a misconception that got perpetrated. And a lot of studies have been done, and it shows that there's absolutely no link between wearing a bra or the kind of bra someone wears and getting breast cancer.
So the tightness of a bra has nothing to do with breast cancer?
Not at all.
Not at all. What are some of the other myths that you've heard or we should be wary about?
Okay, so another thing that people say is the use of deodorants or antiperspirants. So the rationale for that was people thinking that since this deodorant doesn't make me sweat, what if I'm keeping all the toxins that could predispose to breast cancer in? And again, that was found to be erroneous. It's been disproved multiple times. Again, linked to deodorant was the thought that maybe because aluminium is part, if I keep the aluminium in the body, it's going to cause a genetic change or mutate some of the cells and then make me get cancer. And then again, that has been disproved. Another thing, again, concerning deodorants is the fact that they use parabens as preservatives, and parabens also get broken down to estrogen.
Right.
So again, there's the thought that, okay, maybe this is what would cause breast cancer, but it also has been found that exposed to parabens in other areas of our life, with makeup, even with food, since it's a preservative. But the dosage in it is not high enough to cause breast cancer.
All right. So bras can't cause it. Deodorants can't cause it.
Yes.
All right. I'm here having a chat with Dr. Joelle Emisa. She's a junior resident in general surgery at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. We'll be doing the demo pretty soon. Stella is on standby. But let me speak with a breast cancer survivor who has a story to share with us. Stephanie Benson is an entertainer, and she speaks a lot about breast cancer issues. Stephanie, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. My apologies.
No worries. It's good to have you here. We're celebrating Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Pinktober, and would love you to briefly share your story. When did you first realize that there was something wrong with your breasts?
I realized I was 48 years old, and I'll tell you briefly the story because I know we don't have much time. My mother died of cancer when she was 48. So did my grandmother, and my aunt died a year later after my mother died. So it was, it's sort of been in the family. And at the age of 48, we all sort of panic, although we don't want to believe in superstition, and I don't really. But at that time, my aunt was dying of bowel cancer. So I decided to go and have a standard check, which I'd been putting off for 2 years. So I went to have a smear test, and they found out that I had cancer cells, and I needed to do something about it urgently. So for me, so it was very easy for me to decide to kind of have my uterus removed, because I was lucky enough to have had 5 children. Mm-hmm. So I scheduled that, and at the same time, I went to have a mammogram, and they told me I had a lump in my breast. So again, it was like almost a double whammy it all happened in the space of really. So I went to see my consultant, and she sat me down and said that it is advisable. Now, besides the fact that it's hereditary and it could have been, that is, I have my breast removed and have a hysterectomy. It just wasn't even a question of sitting and discussing. I just said, let's just do it. Mm-hmm. I booked to go and have a genetic test, and they found that I was under 20%, 25% chance of developing cancer, but I already had cancer in 2 places. So I didn't understand that why I was having to deal with cancer in both areas. But again, it didn't deter me, although it was under 25%. I just wanted to get them both taken out. Again, I'm lucky enough to have had children, so people who are not, and it's sometimes very hard for them to make that decision, mm-hmm. but sometimes that decision is very necessary. Mm-hmm. So I had both done, and that came with its own trauma, and the story is long. It was crazy. But I survived it. I didn't think I would. I managed to have reconstruction, but the reconstruction went wrong. Because of the chemotherapy, my skin had thinned quite considerably, so it's really hard to have, what's it called? Construction when your skin is really very thin. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm sitting here with no nipple, but I'm quite proud of them, really.
We're so proud of you to share the story as well. I mean, just talk us through the emotions. How did you feel when you knew that you had this cancer, and I'm sure it's spreading, and you had to go and take this decision? I mean, what was going through your mind?
I think, for me, I'm one of those people that I like to deal with things logically. I don't panic. Generally in my life, I'm not a panicker. So when they said it, and because I'd lost my mother from breast cancer, and my mom, unfortunately, she had one breast removed and held on to the other one, and that's why she died. Mm-hmm. Because she didn't really want to have that removed because she felt like she was less of a woman. So I remember even after she died, I was very upset, very angry with her, and I was wondering why that decision was so necessary, and she chose not to tell us either. So we lost her almost without knowing how severe the cancer was. And I was angry with her. And I didn't really want my children to be angry with me if anything happened to me. So in my case, I was in shock. But I almost like I felt like it was coming. I didn't know. I'm just one of those people. So it was such a quick decision. But the time when I actually had the most reaction was when I looked at myself in the mirror one day and saw my my breast, and that was the hardest moment after I'd had it removed. And I was looking at it, and my daughter walked in, and I was, and that's when I broke down. It wasn't because of me, I didn't feel like, okay, this is I don't feel like a woman. It's more because of the shock of seeing myself from a double G to nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
But it was quick. It was like an hour to console my daughter a little bit, and then I was okay. So it was just an hour. Okay. But in that process, I was struggling with the surgery and the and dealing with the recovery, because that was hard. Because I had, after 6 months of having a mastectomy, I had to have my hysterectomy, and because of going straight into menopause.
Yeah.
I could go back to talking about that, and the menopause was again for me. I got through that easily, but I do things rationally. But of understanding that you're actually going to go through something like this, it's quite a mess for a lot of people.
I can imagine.
Quite a mess.
And thank you so much for sharing the story. Briefly, before I let you go, what can you say to people who have survived it, or people who have just found out that they have a lump in their breast and the cancer is spreading? What can you tell them? 30 seconds. Stephanie. Okay, so I think we probably lost Stephanie. So we're going to just show you how this breast examination is conducted shortly. But let's check out this video, and then we'll have that, and I'll come back with Joel. All right. You're watching TV Breakfast, Pinktober. Check this out.
Live from GBC Studio One, this is the Breakfast Show.
It's a great music from Stephanie Benson. We're looking at breast care right here on Health Check, and I just want to wrap up with Stephanie before I come back to Joel and Stella for the breast examination. Stephanie, so I was asking, 30 seconds, what's your message for people who have gotten the news that this is what is happening to their breasts, and for those who are supporting them go through this period?
I think as soon as form really of saving your life, because I found out very early. I say, as soon as you find out, please go to your consultant. There's Dr. Adua, who's amazing. I mean, she does a lot of charity work. So please call her. She's on Instagram. Contact her, and she's the one I send a lot of my women to. Please go and see somebody instantly. Figure out what's happening. As soon as you find out early, you can save your life. That's all I say.
All righty. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing. Love the music.
Sorry, this is so serious, but I love you. I love you.
We greet everybody in UK. Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.
Make I know you some too. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Stephanie Benson, entertainer, breast cancer survivor, sharing her story. Joel, I mean, what she said, it tallies with a lot of what happens to young women, right? Who
yes,
hear the news.
Does. Yes. So they go through a lot of emotions. They feel like their world is crashing, it's coming to an end. They don't know how they're going to survive. So yes, it was very hard. It's a very heartbreaking moment for most of them, and I'm glad that she shared her story. There are a few other people who have survived. There are support groups which are used to help encourage people. So because of this, we normally have a psychologist on standby as well, who helps them, takes them through the journey.
How early do you want young women to start examining their breasts for issues?
Okay, so ideally, as soon as they hit puberty, just that most of them don't have the information by then because they are around 12, 13. But again, another thing that would predispose to breast cancer is the changes that you get. So normally, as soon as you hit puberty, you should be doing self-breast examinations monthly. So what we advise our patients, a day, maybe the first day of every month or the last day of every month.
So that you don't forget.
Yes, or the first day of your cycle. And then every month you do the exam. The exam is not really to detect an abnormality, but to familiarize yourself with your breast so that you know what is normal. And when you know what is normal, the minute an abnormality comes, you would be able to realize that this isn't what my normal breast feels like.
You would think that women they should know what their breasts are. I mean, but you're saying that the whole idea of the test is for you to familiarize yourself.
Yes.
How much more familiar can you be with your own breasts?
So normally you know your breast is there, but you're not really paying attention to it. So that's why we are saying if you do your exam at least once a month, you'd be able to tell what your breast feels like. Because even even with the breasts, there are some slight differences. So if you realize that, okay, even though my right and my left seems to be getting bigger, then you'll be able to detect. So that's the principle behind this.
Okay. We're going to step into the sports arena for a brief bulletin of sports news with Maltiti Sadiq. And then when we return, we shall have a breast examination live here on GTV Breakfast. So Dr. Joel Emisa will be here with us, and Stella will go through the examination. We're going to be having that examination right here. So you stick around on GTV Breakfast. It's Pinktober. As you can see, the whole studio is all pink, shades of pink, and it's really nice. But it's all for a particular purpose. We are looking at Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is this month of October. We want to get early detection up on the agenda. There are some really frightening statistics from WHO. In 2020 alone, 2.3 million women diagnosed with breast cancer, 685,000 deaths occurred. So we're trying to push the awareness creation and also give you some information on how to best test or examine your breast. So that will be happening right after the sports news, which is coming up in 2 minutes. My name is Kafi Day. You stay with us. Pinktober. It's happening right here on GTV Breakfast. Don't go anywhere.